Hey guys, and welcome to Best in the Slot, and today we're talking about daggers. Now, something to note before I start all these videos is when I say the best weapon overall, it just seems to be like the most efficient thing. And, not every weapon can just be said, oh, this one's the best because the numbers are the highest. There are, circumstances for a lot of stuff. That's why, obviously, all these are opinionated. You might do better or worse with any of the weapons I pick, but these are the ones that have definitely worked for me. And still, even then, it's hard to determine like the best weapon overall because you might say the dagger is a really not great weapon. However, for riposting, it's an excellent weapon. So that's why I'm going to separate these into best overall weapon and best utility or like miscellaneous weapons. So there's always going to be like a weapon like the Cestus or something, which I think is excellent for parrying. So for that kind of thing, we're going to have two differentiators. That being said, that is how all these videos in the series are going to work. This is the first one, so I thought I'd give a quick little explanation. But let's get started with daggers. So before I go into the specifics of each weapon, I'm always going to give a general overview on how to use the weapon class because a lot of the weapons are played in the exact same way, so the only thing that actually changes is just raw numbers. So for daggers, really the main thing you want to do is if you have quick step, you want to be quick stepping into them unless they have like another dagger or a curved sword or something very fast. And you always want them to be kind of on the run. You want to quick step into them, attack, and then they roll away, and then roll catch, and then quick step and attack, and then roll and then catch. You just need to do that over and over again. You can never give them any time to breathe. That's the only way to play a dagger really, really effectively. Other than that, they're great riposte tools, and if you don't have any quick step, you can still maintain the aggression by rolling into them and attacking, and then waiting for them to roll, and then you need to constantly be on their nuts. That is how you use daggers in Dark Souls 3. That being said, let's go into the actual specifics of each dagger now. First up is the plain dagger. At 4040, it's got 230 AR, and it's a little bit outclassed by some other weapons in the dagger class. However, it does what it does well. You want to quick step into people, mash R1 a bunch, and just never get off of their nuts. That's standard with all dagger play anyway, so this kind of applies to almost all of these that have quick step. Still being said, I don't think it is the best quick step weapon in the game. I think probably the Thrall Axe is the best for that. I don't even think it's the best quick step dagger. It's decent, but it's outclassed by other things. One thing of note, though, is if you have an all-dex build, it is the best riposting dagger in the game. Only the Mailbreaker is better if you have 40 strength and 40 dex, so overall, not so bad. Next up is the Parrying Dagger. Now, as a main weapon, this thing is not very good. It's pretty much outclassed by almost every other dagger in the game. The one thing of note is that when it's two-handed, you can parry with it. However, it seems to have the really bad Farron Greatsword, like slow parry. I really struggled parrying anything with this thing while I was two-handing it, and when I one-handed it, it was very easy. So I would say as a utility weapon in the offhand, having a Parrying Dagger is really nice. It's very light, and it has a pretty nice parry window. Two-handing it as a main weapon is definitely a no-go for me. The harp is kind of dumb. It's slightly longer than a dagger, but has less damage, and basically everything else about it is exactly the same. So, honestly, I would prefer just using the dagger over the harp almost every single time. Under certain circumstances, the Brigand Twindaggers can actually be pretty decent. You're going to want to buff them with something, though. Just as a plain weapon, they're not that great, but if you slot DMB on there, or you have like Carthus Rouge or something, then it actually becomes pretty good. And you play this the exact same way that you would play like a normal dagger. You just want to quick step in people's faces, and instead of just mashing R1, you press R1 and then L1, which is a combo and can rack up bleed or whatever damage you're applying very quickly. So overall, Brigand Twindaggers are actually pretty good for aggression and are very similar to in style of the regular dagger, to where you just want to get right in their face and then R1 and L1. So they're a lot of fun to play if you like really, really aggressive playstyles. The Bandit's knife is worse than all of the other daggers of similar type. However, it is better than all of them if you apply Carthus Rouge to it, because then you can bleed people out very quickly. Other than that, you play this the exact same way as all the other daggers. You just get in their face with Quick Step, and you can build up bleed very, very quickly if they're not careful. So if you're running a bleed build, this is preferable to the regular dagger. The Handmaid's dagger is just bad. It has very low damage, and it has blind spot, no Quick Step. Overall, just probably one of the worst daggers in the game. As a main weapon, the Mailbreaker is okay. It doesn't have a quick step, and it has a fairly useless shield splitter. And I say useless because the range on it is very, very tiny because it's a tiny weapon. So I would much prefer a quick step on this thing. It's kind of like a weird short sword hybrid moveset where the R2s are the pokes instead of the kind of dagger slash, so it's kind of a strange weapon overall. As a main weapon, I probably wouldn't recommend it. However, as a riposting tool, it is actually the best in the game if you have a refined 40-40 build. Also, it's very good for low-level invasions because you can make this raw and still do incredibly high amounts of riposte damage. So, as a utility weapon for riposting, very good. As a main weapon, not that great. The Corvian Greatknife, unfortunately, like a lot of other things in Dark Souls 3, suffers from a very strange sense of balancing where it's just simply better than something else that's identical to it. You look at the Handmaid's Dagger, which does pretty pitiful damage, has the same weapon art and all that stuff, and you look at the Corvian Greatknife, which does way more damage, has, you know, a much, much larger range. It's just so much better. The Corvian Greatknife as an actual weapon is incredibly good. I would even use it like, you know, not... because I think daggers overall are just not that great. Corvian Greatknife is an exception to that rule. It's actually pretty good. The range is great. You can roll catch people. You can stay on their nuts still. It doesn't have a quick step, but you don't really need it because you can just still stay on their nuts because it's so long. This is by far my favorite weapon for getting aggression on opponents, and it's like the death by 1,000 cuts. It's just so many attacks. You just can't get away from the thing. It seems to always roll catch you too. Blind Spot I don't think is very useful, but overall the Corvian Greatknife is a very, very good dagger. The Tailbone Shortsword is really underwhelming. The damage on the dagger is decent. It's okay, but it's really its weapon art that is just so disappointing. It's Unleashed Dragon, and it's a giant kind of Drake Sword shockwave line that's very slow and costs a lot of FP. It can get you backstabbed, and if you do hit with it, it does like 100 damage. It's so infuriating that it does so little damage, but for that reason alone, I hate the Tailbone Shortsword. The Rotten Ghru dagger is the only poison dagger in the game, and if you're running a poison build, I don't know why you would, God bless you, but this is probably the best weapon for it. If you put on a Rotten Pine resin, you can actually build up poison very quickly, and then your opponent will die in 6 hours. So if you're running a poison build, Rotten Ghru dagger is great. If you're not running a poison build, there's no reason to really use it. So overall, I got to give best dagger to Corvian Greatknife by far. It is kind of a landslide in this case. The amount of pressure it can put on, the range it has, the speed it has, the damage it does for the dagger class is just really, really good. It is by far the best dagger class weapon in the game. However, for utility, I would probably give it... I'm not going to count the Scholar's Candlestick, by the way, because that is kind of along the caster side of things. But for utility, I would probably say the Mailbreaker. And the dagger can potentially do more riposte damage overall, but I would still say the Mailbreaker is the best because it has even more utility because low levels can use it when it's raw as well. So I think the most overall benefit, it has to be the Mailbreaker. But it's a really close tie between that and the regular dagger, though. So there we go. The Corvian Greatknife is the best dagger, and the best utility weapon is a very close Mailbreaker. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below and all that good stuff. Again, these are just my opinions. They're not right or wrong. It's just what I found most success with and what people I've known have found most success with. So there you go. That was the very first Best in Slot. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.